Welcome back to Haunted Horizons, where the shadows whisper and the darkness holds secrets best left undiscovered. Tonight, we take you into the depths of terror, into a place where nightmares were born and the dead still scream. This is the horrifying tale of the Forsaken Asylum, a place abandoned for decades, but never empty. The spirits of the tortured patients roam its halls, the echoes of their suffering still lingering in the air. And one man dared to enter, only to discover that some doors should never be opened. Turn down the lights, put on your headphones, and prepare yourself for a story you won't forget. Chapter 1: The Dare. It all started with a dare. My friends and I had always been fascinated by urban legends, and the abandoned Ravencrest Asylum was the most infamous haunted place in the region. Legends spoke of Dr. Elias Morrigan, a twisted physician who ran horrific experiments on his patients. They said that the screams of the tortured still echoed through the walls, and the restless spirits of the dead wandered the halls, waiting for their revenge. I never believed in ghosts, but when my friends challenged me to spend a full night alone inside the asylum, I couldn't back down. The moment I stepped through those rusted doors, I knew I had made a mistake. Chapter 2: The Entrance. The air inside was suffocating, thick with dust and decay. The hallway stretched into darkness, its walls covered in faded, peeling paint. Every step I took echoed loudly, as if the asylum itself was waking up. I turned on my flashlight, its beam cutting through the oppressive gloom. Old hospital beds lay overturned, medical charts scattered across the floor. A single wheelchair sat in the center of the hall, facing me, as if someone had just been sitting there. Then I heard it, a soft, distant whisper. "Help me." I froze. The voice was faint, almost like the wind, but there was no wind inside this building. The air was stagnant, heavy with something unseen. I told myself it was my imagination, but deep down, I knew I wasn't alone. Chapter 3: The Shadows Move. I pushed forward, determined to prove this place was nothing but a crumbling ruin. But as I passed an old operating room, something moved in the corner of my vision. A shadow, not mine. I whipped my flashlight toward the wall, but there was nothing, just a long, empty corridor. I took a deep breath and forced a chuckle. "Just a trick of the light," I muttered. Then, the wheelchair I had passed earlier rolled forward on its own. My blood ran cold. I wasn't laughing anymore. Chapter 4: The Forgotten Wing. Determined to stick to the dare, I made my way to the East Wing, the part of the asylum that had been locked down for decades. The door was heavy, but with enough force, I managed to push it open. A foul stench hit me immediately, the scent of mold, rot, and something worse. As I stepped inside, I noticed something horrifying. There were fresh footprints in the dust. Someone, or something, had been here recently. Then, the whispers returned. "You shouldn't be here." I turned in every direction, but I saw no one. My heart pounded as I took another step forward. That's when I saw them. Handprints. Bloody handprints. They stretched along the walls, leading deeper inside. Chapter 5: The Experiment Room. At the end of the hallway, I found a door with deep scratch marks across its surface. The words, "Don't open," were scrawled in faded red paint. Or was it blood? I reached for the handle. My entire body screamed for me to turn back, but something compelled me forward. The door creaked open. Inside was an old operating theater, the rusted surgical table covered in dark stains. A single flickering light bulb swayed overhead, casting long twisting shadows. Strapped to the table was a rotting corpse, its eyes wide open, as if it had died screaming. A medical file lay next to it. Patient number 47. Failed procedure. Then a voice behind me whispered, "You're next." Chapter 6. The Ghosts Appear. I spun around, my flashlight shaking. The room was empty, but as I stepped back, the corpse's mouth moved. It exhaled. A thick black mist poured from its lips, curling toward me. Suddenly, the room filled with echoes of agony, screams of past patients, crying out in pain. Then, from the darkness, they came. Figures in hospital gowns, their faces twisted in silent screams, their hollow eyes locked onto me as they crawled toward me, their fingers dragging along the floor. I ran. Chapter 7. The Doctor's Return. I sprinted down the hall, but the asylum had changed. The walls stretched endlessly, doors slammed shut as I passed. The whispers had become laughter, cold, malevolent laughter. Then, at the end of the corridor, I saw him, Dr. Elias Morrigan. He stood tall, his decayed lab coat drenched in something dark. His skeletal fingers clutched a rusted scalpel. His voice was a guttural rasp. "Time for your treatment." He lunged. Chapter 8. The Escape. I bolted, my breath ragged. The spirits wailed, reaching for me as I stumbled through the asylum. Every door led to another nightmare, a room filled with corpses, an endless hallway of mirrors reflecting something inhuman behind me. Finally, I found the exit. The heavy metal doors loomed ahead, rusted shut, but I wasn't alone. A hand grabbed my wrist. It was a young girl, one of the victims. Her hollow eyes stared into mine. "Help us," she whispered. For a moment, I hesitated. Then behind me, the doctor screamed in rage. I kicked the doors open and ran into the night. Chapter 9. The Aftermath. I never looked back. I never told my friends what I saw. But the asylum never left me. Some nights, I wake up to the sound of whispers in my room. The voice of the little girl. "You didn't save us." And in the shadows, I see him. Dr. Elias Morrigan is still watching, and he's waiting.